Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Bautista Valls. I am the founder of wefinwise, and the goal of wefinwise is kind of very briefly to again look into the different career options of finance and stuff like that, and all the different fields in it. So for our first podcast, I'm very grateful and honored to have Matias Sacerdote. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Matias Sacerdote. Um, I have experience working in corporate finance, the capital markets, research, and in several roles in the investment world. Um, so I work for several banks and then for the MIT Endowment and then for my own firm called KIG Investment Management.
Okay. So the KAG investments right now, you would say, what would it be like categorized, or like what type of job would you say it goes under?
It would be more on the investment side for sure. Maybe technically people will refer to KIG as a hedge fund. I call it an investment partnership because um, I don't short for the most part. We do mostly long investments.
And in this investment shared, what is it that you try to achieve, and and how do you go about it?
We're, we're looking for performance. So we're proud to have a good long-term track record, and that's the main goal to produce good returns for our limited partners, for our investors.
And do you who like are your clients? Are they like individuals, or are they like companies and stuff like that, or both?
It's mostly individuals. We also have some institutions, but it's
Hmm.
mostly like family offices or endowments, but it's mostly individuals. High
Okay.
net what is referred in the industry as high net worth individuals.
No, perfect. Makes sense. And how did you get into this? Because again, this obviously I'm guessing isn't your first job in finance, at least.
Uh, are you asking about how do I get into the finance industry or how do I get into investing or KIG or the
Both, both.
yeah for me it was like I think I came across a book about Warren Buffett when I was like your age. I
Hmm.
didn't understand much, but I read it and said I want to do this. Wasn't sure what what it took to do that, but and then coming from Argentina, where I grew up, it wasn't that easy to get into the industry. But I got jobs in different roles of finance over the years in different banks in New York, in Boston, and eventually I landed my first job in the investment world. And from
Hmm.
after a few years of doing that, I felt ready to do my own fund of investment firm.
And what was that first job again that like kind of got you really introduced into it?
My first job was in telecom in Argentina in the finance department. Uh, in the US, I then moved to the US and worked in different banks, including JP Morgan and Bear Stearns and BBVA, which had a strong capital markets presence in Latin America.
Hmm. And also, I was wondering because I know under those companies, and now you're like the CEO of your own investment sharing thing. What's like the main difference you would say between having to work for a company that like they kind of tell you what to do and stuff, and like you managing your own stuff, kind of like you're the one having to like plan everything and stuff like that.
The main difference for better or for worse is the pressure. Like you
Hmm.
have the pressure to the accountability. I always wanted that. I like it, but it's real, and you cannot point to a. It's all you, you cannot point to anyone other than yourself. So so you're responsible ultimately for the results.
Very risk but high reward.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yes, but I'd say I like sports, so I always use the analogy of like you use in tennis, for instance, that pressure is a privilege, and
Hmm.
I always wanted that, and I'm happy with it. So, but that's the main difference when you're even if you're number two or a very senior person, if you're not the main person, you're not the one going with the pressure to sleep every day. And that's a big difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so now I was like the whole goal a little bit behind this project is kind of targeted obviously towards to a whole wide audience of people interested in finance. But as an old high school student, I like kind of have it a little bit also targeted towards a younger audience and stuff like that. And a big pressure I see now, especially with social media and stuff like that in finance, is that there's like target schools and colleges that are like of like very big like importance. Like okay, like you only get accepted to these big like names if you go to like a target school and an Ivy League, stuff like that. And so someone like with the success that you achieved, I want to know what college did you attend to?
I went to college in Argentina, to Universidad de Itela.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not as familiar with the college situation here in the US as you
Oh,
probably are, or other people are.
yeah, because I know that there's like I don't know, I see a lot of interview tips, stuff like that, when getting into stuff like investment banking and like or like I don't know, different in an interview for JP Morgan, stuff like that. And I see how like it's like the target schools help a lot if you went to U Chicago, stuff like that. But at least they this shows that like it's not the only thing that matters, I feel like, because I not like I at least get like that's a big pressure on us, like well the
Yeah,
younger audience.
it's been a while since I was in my 20s, so I don't know how the ecosystem changed, right? But back then, it was an advantage to go to good schools for sure, but you could get into good firms eventually by proving yourself in like smaller firms. And I imagine to some extent that's the case today as well.
Mhm. And I saw it in your About Me page in your KIG and your own company that you studied economics, which is obviously different from finance. I know there's obviously a bunch of branches you can go in college. What do you think? Like, do you think it was the right thing for you to do to study economics? Do you regret studying economics instead of finance, or no real like big difference?
Um, the reason I studied economics was because I was in Argentina, and Argentina, the economy is a mess. It goes ups and down, and so I had a lot of smart people telling me you need to understand economics in this country. But probably if I'd be in the States where the economics matter less,
Hmm.
I wouldn't prioritize economics as much. But it's helpful to have some idea of how the economy works.
Do you think the skills you like and like information you learned there, like you were like used it in like the real world, like or in your job career?
Mm. A little bit, but yeah, probably not as much as if I would have learned uh, finance directly, or business, or yeah, yes, it was helpful, but not as much as other. Uh, I guess today I would probably study like engineering or something like that. But I don't know, things do change very fast, and these days with AI and so on, it's even harder to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Also, something like I'm interested in because there's obviously so like at a young age, there's like such a um I wouldn't say chance to make a mistake, but when going into college, you have to pick like what you want to study. And I'm very already built into finance, but in a perspective of someone that like doesn't know a lot, kind of wondering if they should take engineering or medical stuff like that, finance stuff like that. Would you say that it's not easy, but like it's still possible for someone that's doing something not related to like money to then in the career, obviously, like in the real world post graduation, get into the finance industry?
Oh yes, absolutely. So if you ask me what's needed for at least the investment side, which is the one I know a little bit better than the other one at this point, I'd say is intense curiosity, being
Hmm.
very curious. So being very authentic about um, wanting to continue learning after college, right?
Hmm.
Um, and and I know about many of the smartest investors that I know have not studied economics or finance or anything like that. They've studied biology. For instance, for what I do, understanding creating having good mental models about how the nature works and how biology works is super useful because at the end of the day,
Hmm.
you're studying companies, and companies you can see them as organic beings.
Yeah.
So that's also helpful. And many times what happens is people who study finance or economics are too narrowly focused on that and think that's the answer to everything, and they don't combine that knowledge with some other very important knowledge that is required to understand the real world.
Hmm. Uh,
On the other hand, the guy who comes from outside, has a chip on his shoulder and it's like very open-minded to begin with.
yeah.
So that plays to his advantage or to his or her advantage.
Yeah. I never thought of it like that, to be honest, but that does make a lot more sense now. Now something I noted was you said that something you look for and notice in people that have like been successful is curiosity, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that's something I've heard a lot before, especially from people like my dad, from social media, stuff like that. What other types of characteristics do you see people that are successful and stuff have that others who aren't as successful lack?
Um, Extreme determination, basically. I would say that one ranks up there.
Hmm.
Um, high energy, high energy for sure. Um, yes, clarity of thinking, like they're able to think very clearly. Uh, yeah, I will put those up there for sure. Um, yeah, humility to know what they know and what they don't know, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's also important. So yeah, the list is long, but I would say
Yeah.
I would put those at the top.
Makes sense. All right. That's a lot kind of those questions are more related to like your past and how you got to where you are now. And a little more now related to your actual job that I'm still a little bit kind of confused about. So, how does it work? Is it like the way I'm interpreting it now is that like again, high net worth individuals go to you with money that they have to invest and stuff, and you give them like advice on what they should do. Do they give it to you? You fully invest it on yourself, or like how does it actually like work?
Yes, so we have a fund, and so they invest with us, and we decide what to do with that capital, and we look for investment opportunities, and we can look at anything. Literally, we have a mandate to do that. It's completely open, so we can do anything that you can imagine, from real estate to crypto to companies. But we focus on companies, and we focus particularly on companies that we think are going to be incredible for many, 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 many years.
Mhm. And how do you like interpret which companies are going to be successful? Because I know obviously like finding the next Bitcoin or Tesla is not something you do every day. So what would you look for in a company that's like, okay, like I think this one has the opportunity to like grow exponentially or stuff like that, that like another company is like has like a red flag that maybe like no, we should stay away from this.
I mean, again, the list is long,
Yeah.
but I would say I would put it up there. Uh, um, you know, I find again, using sports as an analogy, you want someone, if you're looking for the GOAT,
Hmm.
um, you need someone who has shown you the ability to win some majors already. So the track record matters, and then you have to see some clearly differentiation in their game. Let's put it. If you're talking about tennis, for instance, okay, you want to see very good legs or very good shots, making ability, or so you want to you what I always say is I look into the inputs, not the output so much. I do look at that track record. It has to be very good. But
Yeah.
then it's like you want to see the fire. Are they still like in for the long term? Some people achieve a couple of things and then they don't they don't care to become goats. So
Yeah.
for the goats, um, there's a big difference between Hall of Famers and GOATs. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And Hall of Famers are amazing, but the GOATs are like so incredible. I mean, they're all
Yeah,
incredible, but the GOATs are ridiculous. That's the reality.
that was a good analogy. Like the sports wise of goats, like makes it more feel like family friendly for like a beginner like me to understand it in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
But I would
now,
say they think differently, right? They really think differently. If you think about goats, it's like, and you talk to them and you're already like, oh, these people are like, they think so hard.
in a
Yeah,
different world, yeah.
they aim so high, so high.
Hmm. Now, another thing that I see a lot with finance, especially this could be also me, a younger audience, a lot of time in stuff like social media, is the grueling like work hours and stuff. How like in
Mm.
corporate finance, people are spending a lot of hours a week or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also I also did hear that over time, once you get into higher positions, this workload becomes less and stuff. So like in comparison, how would you say like your like work hours compare when you were like younger, first starting off to like now where like you have like your own company that you could kind of like you're like your own boss in a way.
Yes. So 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 I think what happens is when you're younger, the hours get measured like at your desk in the office, and those are really long hours. Uh, as you as you become more senior or you become your own boss, th those hours are not measured like that. But the reality is you take your job everywhere, even to your bed, to your pillow. So if you start thinking about all, I'm not sure. In my case, I worked crazy hours in my 20s. Uh, and I'm not sure I'm working any less today.
Yeah.
It's a different structure because I could be at the gym, but I'm thinking about it, or I'm listening to something, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm learning about, so it's different for sure,
Hmm. Hmm.
the way those hours are spent. But if you let's put it this way, if you're ambitious, I think you keep on working many hours uh, at every stage.
Yeah, like a different type of working in a way. Instead of in the office, just at home, always like analyzing, thinking about the
Yeah.
next thing.
I think let's put it, for instance, in the investment banking world where there's very clear hierarchy between analysts, VPs, and managing directors. The great managing directors, which are super senior, I'm sure they're working really strong hours as well, or very long hours as well. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, they might not be at the desk or in the office, but they're still working. They're finding deals, having
Yeah,
with potential clients, so they're figuring out how to land the next deal. So that takes a huge amount of effort that could be happening as they outside the office.
perfect. Makes sense. Yeah. Would you say these hours are worth it? Like the office hours or like either one or like the new
Say
hours?
that again. Sorry, I missed it.
If you would say they're worth it, right? Like I know like it's very rigorous work, but like is the payoff deserving of like
You
the
like
work?
it? Yes. I love what I do. If you ask me, it's like the key to me was narrowing down more and more where I wanted to be, what I wanted to be doing. Because finance, as you know, is very broad, as you
Hmm.
mentioned to me in previous
Yeah.
before in this conversation, right? And and but and there's so many roles and so many different jobs in it. But if you can narrow it down to what you enjoy the most, you do the tasks that you enjoy the most, and yes, it's totally worth it. But if you're doing a lot of things that you don't enjoy, then it becomes a big burden.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. And not to take too much of your time, kind of to close off. Again, going back to like how this is like more meant for like a younger audience and stuff like that. I was wondering if as someone with so much experience over so much time, do you have any tips for like if you were, let's say, to be kind of like back again into like in my age or in my like circumstance, do you have any tips for someone starting off young again on like what you recommend or something we should do, look
Yes.
into?
Yes, pay a lot of attention to what you feel attracted to. In my case, was like I was reading Buffett. I didn't know much about investing back then. I was reading how Buffett went about investing in Gillette or Coca-Cola or all these companies. And I was reading about the rationale that he was using and how he figured out that it was such a good investment. And I couldn't fully understand. I understood part of it. I didn't understand the full thesis or anything like that. Uh, but I just love the fact that you could you know um, use mental models to understand the world, to understand situations, and say, oh, this is cheap, and this is such a good company, and you could make money out of being wise. Um, was I capable of doing such thing at that age? No, but I never lost track of that little spark of reading that. So I would say pay a lot of attention to produce a little spark in you, and figure out where that spark is, like where that task is that you can, or that job is that you can stay in touch with that connection. That's the key, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And doing something that you actually love, and then you're able to spend time more on to it. And
Yes, yes. I know it's cliche to some extent,
yeah,
right? It sounds almost cheesy at this point, but it's true. And the other one that Buffett says all the time also, work for someone you admire. Like, because there's a huge connection between the two things. If you admire someone, it's because most likely you like what he's doing, or what she's doing, and you think highly of the way he or she is doing it. So it's probably because you like a lot that job as well, right?
yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time and able to share everything. If you have any last words, but thank you so much. I really accepted the
Anytime,
feedback.
Bauti, and congratulations on what you're doing, because I think it's a great way to to think about what's coming for in the next few years.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Matias.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.